So right now it's 3:30 p.m. and today we're going to one of the most important cities in not just Italian history but European history, Florence. Okay, we just got to Florence like 5 minutes ago, and right after we got out of the station we ended up in these like narrow streets with very little sidewalks. We're basically in an alley and we're heading to probably the most iconic building in the city, the Duomo. So I lost my parents for a second on the narrow streets while I was filming that dog, and then I found out they're eating some street pizza for €5 a piece, which is definitely more than the average in Italy. It's got tomatoes and I don't know what else, olive oil? They're nice and soft. So everything was good about that place, except instead of having like, you know, just powdered salt on it, they had like massive chunks of salt on it. So I took a big bite of that and that kind of like ruined the taste for it for a second, but after that it was fine. Okay, right now I'm in front of Duomo, which literally means cathedral in Italian. So you might remember Duomo from Milan as well. That was the biggest cathedral there. This one's famous all across the world for its like very, very well decorated marble facade with Renaissance decorations and the huge red dome on the top of it. This was built between the 13th and the 15th centuries, and when it was built it was actually the largest cathedrals in the whole world. And it still today is one of the largest cathedrals in the whole world. This thing is massive. But I don't think we're gonna have time to go inside it because that requires a long line and we're just doing a day trip and we're trying to rush through, but it's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool stuff on the inside. Interestingly, it looks like it's popular to do a lot of paintings right next to the Duomo. I remember I came here like 5 years ago and I had pictures of people painting over here, and like one of these guys looked a lot like this guy over here. It's somehow starting to rain while it's sunny, but we'll give this a shot. Right now we're what used to be the center of old Florence, and we're in front of the city hall, which essentially used to be the palace of this rich family that used to control the city, the region, and a lot of Europe in a sense. And that's how Florence is very, very different from other old European cities or other big cities. Instead of the cathedral being the center of the city, the palace of the richest family, the Medici family, was actually the center of the city because this family controlled pretty much everything that happened here and in a lot of other places. So Florence was always like an economic powerhouse. After the fall of Rome, Europe sort of fell into obscurity, into the Dark Ages, where there wasn't much traveling, where there wasn't a lot of learning. It was just a long period of not a lot of progress. But then the Renaissance started right here in Florence. It lasted for more than 200 years, from the 14th century to the 17th century. And through the Renaissance, sense, Florence brought Europe out of the Dark Ages. They funded projects and buildings from Britain all the way to Hungary. They funded the Pope in a bunch of different ways. They funded the English kingdom. Florence was also responsible for developing the currency, Florence, gold Florence, that became the international currency of the region and brought Europe out of the Dark Ages. And the literary contributions of Florence, or the region of Tuscany, was so important that when the first kingdom of Italy was created, like less than 200 years ago, Italy wasn't a kingdom or a big state for a long time. There was a lot of different kingdoms. In the 1860s or 70s, all these other small republics got together and became Italy as we know it today, in a sense. But even back then, they had their different languages, and they came up with Italian, which was based on the Tuscan dialect. So essentially, Florence funded the development of a lot of industries all across Europe and helped bring a lot of innovation along. And on top of that, the thing they're probably known for the most is they funded a lot of the artwork. That's why a lot of the Renaissance artwork by the most famous artists like Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, also the 4 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of them had most of their artworks done in and around the region of Florence and Tuscany. So this used to be the former palace of the Medici family, but today it's been turned into the City Hall or Museum, where you can go and see a lot of cool statues and a lot of cool pieces of artwork. A very special one that is right outside of it is the statue of David by Michelangelo. But this isn't actually the real statue. The real statue was moved from here like 100 years ago and put in the Accademia Gallery so that it doesn't, you know, get damaged by the weather and all. That statue is one of the most impressive artworks I've ever seen. Actually, I took a picture of that statue 5 years ago, and it's still my wallpaper to this day for the last 5 years. It was the first ever marble statue of that time that was made in 1,000 years before that. It's pretty special. It's like 17 foot high. The point of the statue is humanism, and it's like Michelangelo is probably one of his most famous works, or definitely one of his most famous sculptures for sure. So if you look closely at the statue, it looks like David is thinking about something. So this is from the scene before David kills Goliath with a sling, but before that he's kind of like thinking about it and sizing him up. And one fine detail that a lot of people don't notice is that his right hand in the statue is like a lot bigger than it should be for a normal human being, and that's not a mistake by Michelangelo. That has a deeper meaning. He wanted to imply that with this bigger right hand, he was basically being powered by the force of God, which is why he was able to overcome Goliath and do what he did. So he intentionally made the right hand a little bit bigger. The center of Florence is very, very old, very, very historic, but also very, very touristic. So if you ever want to see the non-touristic parts of the city, you literally have to just take one of the bridges that go by this river, by the old town, go to the other side of the river, and then you're in the place where normal people live. The first time I came to Florence was right after I came to Rome. I made a video from there 5 years ago. That was my first real like Euro trip. If you go and watch that video, you'll see how excited I was about like just being here. So the first 5-6 days in Rome and Florence, all I did was just go to a bunch of museums, see a lot of the historic stuff that I read about my whole life. But then when I came to Florence, I was basically just ready to like explore a bit, get away from the touristy stuff. And there was this girl at my hostel from Denmark, and she was ready for the same. So we literally just crossed the bridge, went across a bunch of other bridges, until we came to a bridge where we couldn't hear any more American English. And we just drank a lot of wine and chilled, and that was such a good time. So now we're going to the other side. So the thing about Florence is that although you can appreciate how the old town looks from the center, it's very hard to get a view of like the Duomo itself, the dome, or just the landscape from up there. So you can come to this place that's like a 20-minute walk away up this hill called Piazza Michelangelo, where you can come and get that very famous view of Florence and the old town sort of like skyline. Not a lot of big buildings except the ancient ones, and you can see the Duomo, and this place looks particularly beautiful during sunset, which is why I'm here right now. But I gotta go right now because I have to catch a train in like 30 minutes because this is a day trip. So that back there was the old bridge, very touristy. It's going off right now because it looks gorgeous around sunset time. And I'm rushing and sweating because my parents are waiting at the train station, and we already reserved seats for that ticket. And I don't want to pay again or make them get on the train by themselves. Alright, barely made it to the train with 4 minutes to go. I just have to get to my wagon. I hate doing a rush vlog of Florence because there's just like so much in here. There's so much history. Last time I was here, I think I spent 3 days, and there's just so much I couldn't see it with my own eyes, forget covering everything. This time I was just doing a day trip, so it was like all or nothing. Like I filmed this, or I don't know when I'm coming back to Florence next. So I know I didn't do it justice, but I hope I was able to provide entertainment value. Man, these train wagons are long. Alright, I'm gonna get on this train with my parents and head to Venice. Maybe I'll film for there. Be another rush vlog. Catch you guys in the next one. Like it if you like it. Feel free to subscribe if you want to watch more videos. Oh shit. Oh, never mind. That was a different train. And feel free to follow me on Instagram if you want real-time travel updates. Catch you guys in the next video from, I don't know where. Maybe Venice, maybe Dolomites. Let's see.